What's up, guys? Cobra Axis and Allies here, bringing to you another historical board gaming expansion set review. As you can see here, we've got the Battle of the Atlantic, and this is more like two expansion sets because you've got this right here is the Allies Strike Back, sold for $11.95, and then you've got the German Menace, also sold for $11.95. So it's kind of like a two-part expansion set that you can buy, one by one, or if you just feel like buying one or the other. And yeah, so basically, if you want to put them together, which I definitely think they kind of complement each other, then I definitely suggest buying both of them. But we're going to go into a little short review on all of the units and what you get, and some of my thoughts and comments on them. So yeah. We'll start out with the Allies Strike Back expansion set, and as you can see here with both of my expansion sets, you get these in a gray plastic similar to this color, but I'm in the process of priming and painting these, so right now you can see that they are in their respective primer colors for the different nations. But I will just show you guys. So first up, what I want to say is that you're going to have to paint these yourself if you just buy these. You're getting it in that gray plastic, so if you want them to be say like the American green color, you're going to have to buy some spray paint and paint them green. So that is one thing to note before you buy these sets. Now, Germany, I could see just buying them. They start out gray, so kind of goes with Germany's color scheme. But for the Allies and the different nations that you get these for, you might want to invest in some paint, which is pretty simple to do. Yeah, but first up, we will start with this. This is the PBY V17 anti-submarine plane, and basically it's a type of patrol bomber. And let me see if I can get this to focus. There we go. And you can see the detail on these 3D prints are really nice looking. And yeah, so with this you can see the different modifications made to the B-17. So you've got the little bubble turrets, kind of like on the PBY Catalina. This big antenna type piece right there. Overall, really nice looking unit, and even the underside of these for like detail painters out there like me. You got landing gear and different bomber bay flaps and stuff, and overall, really nice looking piece. So the rules for this thing is that it you buy it for 10 IPCs, so it's a little more than, considering that you're going to be hunting subs with it, it's a little more than a seaplane, and you could buy either a fighter or this thing. Now, it can only fight submarines, so it attacks at a 4, defends at a 2, if you were, say, on maritime air patrol. It can move 6 and has a combat air patrol range of 2, so you guys probably know what that means. Just it can fly out 2 spaces and then come back 2 spaces to hunt submarines. Now, overall with this thing, it definitely is a pretty good unit. Like when you think of it in terms of this or a seaplane, for a few extra bucks, you're getting one extra attack. So like instead of three or less for the attack, you're getting 4 or less. You do suffer in defense though, so it's definitely meant to go out and hunt subs down. It has the same patrol range and range in general, the 6 and the 2 as a seaplane, so it kind of is similar to that. So basically, what I'm seeing is for $3 more, you're getting this instead of a seaplane, and you're getting that 4 instead of a 3 on attack, which I guess is decent. And when you think of stuff like for 10 IPCs, you could be getting a fighter, which can still go on patrol, and it's definitely it attacks at a 6. That thing's definitely getting a little bit better of a shot at hitting that sub. But the good thing about this thing is that unlike the seaplane, it has the ability to land anywhere, so you can fly it inland if you need to get it across some far distance of land like Europe or Africa. And overall, it's a pretty decent unit, and especially with America's income, I could definitely see buying a few of these for that little bit of a bonus instead of seaplanes. But yeah, I definitely like this unit. Next up, we've got probably one of my favorites, definitely in terms of the mold. This is the K-class Blimp, and now in terms of the mold and everything, it's a little simple, but blimps are fairly featureless. They do have a little bit of, you can see, detailing, the ridging on the front of the ship, and the little flaps on the rear. And all my aircraft I've already magnetized, as you can see. So yeah, basically this thing I really like. It's pretty much like a cheap disposable anti-submarine weapon. Definitely good for stuff like patrolling the Florida coastline and the Caribbean for enemy submarines. So basically this thing costs only $1, so 1 IPC. So you can definitely amass these things. Like if you only get 2 in the expansion set, but as you can see, I do have a few extra. And you won't be buying like tons of them because they are pretty low level units, but for 1 IPC they really can't be beat. They do have low stats though, so basically they attack and defend only against submarines at a 3 or less, which already, that's a seaplane in terms of its attack and defense against subs. So that's great. And then so it has a range of 2. So it's a pretty short range craft, and another thing is that its combat air patrol range is only 1. So this thing can patrol right off of coasts, but kind of like fighters and bombers. But other than that, you're pretty much stuck to coastlines. And another thing about this is that any time that it cannot land, it when it's on combat air patrol range, if it suddenly doesn't have a place to land, it's instantly destroyed. So you can see it does have some downsides, but again, for that $1, you really can't compare it to anything else. It's cheaper than infantry to buy this thing, which I think is really cool. One thing that I kind of wish was that maybe it could be loaded onto a transport or something like that, because America maybe deploying these over the English coast could be pretty good, like the channel and everything. Although I do think you could, what you could do is lend-lease these to England, and then, because for a short-range little patrol craft, it's definitely a pretty neat unit. But yeah, that is the K-class Blimp. Next up, we've got the Cam ship. This is a unit for Britain. And you can see, again, really nice detailing on these units. And basically, the story behind these things were that they were transports, and they would sail in convoys. And you can see on the front, that little pole, they would have a fighter stashed on that thing. And other various posts of it, they might have one right here off the rear. Just a lot of little trapeze fighters. And basically, how it would work is they would kind of set traps up for submarines, where they'd be sailing like this, and then, or not submarines, but aircraft. They'd be sailing like this, and then if German aircraft came out to try and convoy raid and blow up a few transports, then what would happen is that they would then uncover the aircraft, deploy them, and send them up to fight the German aircraft in the skies. But yeah, pretty cool unit. And now this thing, for the British, it costs 1, like the K-class Blimp, and it definitely, again, has some drawbacks to it. So costing 1, it can move 3, so it is like a pretty fast mover. So you could get it to kind of like across the Atlantic. Now, although I do have to say though that you probably won't be stationing these far from Britain, because German aircraft are probably not going to be convoy raiding in the South Pacific off of they're pretty short range. Even if they send out bombers, say, these things, that's only 3 zones off of a friendly German or Axis territory. But yeah, overall it is a cool unit, and maybe building 1 or 2 is fine, because again, it's only $2, so like you can buy 2 of these or 1 militia. So it's definitely a pretty nice unit. It doesn't have any attack, that's one thing about it, and it can only be on escort duty, so there's no sending this in with the fleet or anything. And its special ability is that it gets 1 shot at 5 against enemy aircraft. So basically, if you got this on escort duty and an aircraft tries to convoy raid, this will get a shot off at it at 5 or less. So overall, a pretty neat unit, and again, another nice amassable kind of unit to help the British out. Next up for the British are these, and you get 3 of them. These are another one of my favorite units. These are the Submarine Chasers, and as you can see too, they are extremely small. Like, here's a destroyer, just for scale. And yeah, so basically these things were built in pretty large numbers during the war, because they were really cheap and dispensable kind of units. And basically they are submarine chasers, and so they are available to Britain and the Commonwealth. And so basically they cost 1, so move 1, so they are a short-range unit, but they do attack and defend at 3. Now, these are a little bit like corvettes in the sense that they attack and defend against so they'll shoot at submarines and stuff, so they can kind of spot them like a destroyer, but they are chosen last in combat, so that is one thing to note about them. So you can't just kind of have these sailing around as cheap destroyers in your navy. But they are good for kind of posting off in longer range assaults, like especially if you are off kind of, the British Navy likes to send out their escort carrier destroyer combos to go hunt out subs. And because aircraft can only combat air patrol range of 1, that means that having 1 of these and and your fighter / escort carrier combo would be pretty nice, and just kind of going around the South Atlantic and then moving a space and blowing up subs out there. So overall, really nice unit, and I like this thing, and I really like how in the expansion you get 3 of them, so you can definitely have a couple of them kind of spaced out around the Atlantic Ocean. Next up, we've got, and lastly for the Allies, the American Buckley-class destroyer, and let you see the details in this thing. Really nice looking unit, the lifeboats and the depth charge launchers off the back. Basically, these things were built as they were pretty much just a pretty average destroyer, but they were stripped down in terms of their surface action kind of abilities. So torpedo tubes, like heavy guns, stuff like that, were taken off and it replaced with expanded depth charge launchers, and they did have limited surface guns, but overall just a kind of cheaper alternative, because when you're fighting subs you don't need a ton of surface guns to fight surface warships. So basically this is available to only America. It costs 5, so it is $3 cheaper than a destroyer. And then it moves 3, so like a destroyer, and attacks and defends at 2. So basically this thing's kind of like a purchasable torpedo boat destroyer, attacking and defending at 2, but then like a destroyer it moves 3, which is pretty nice, so you can keep up with the fleets and everything. And there's no stipulation on this being chosen last in combat, so you can pretty much amass these things too, and you do get 3 in the set. So I can definitely see America building a bunch of these as kind of like bullet sponges for especially going up against the Japanese, but also as a unit that they can use to hunt submarines down. So overall, a really cool unit. And next up, we will be looking at the German Menace. And let me see if I can focus. There we go. Alright, so I guess we'll start with aircraft again. This is the Focke-Wulf Condor, which was a large German long-range aircraft pretty much designed for maritime kind of escorting and convoy raiding. So this thing has, so it costs 10, kind of like so basically a fighter, and in terms of cost. It moves 6 and has a combat air patrol range of 2, kind of like a seaplane. So I can definitely see Germany building this, maybe if it's getting convoy raided in the Baltic Sea, or not the Baltic Sea, the Baltic Sea. That one convoy line that it has between Sweden and Germany, that can definitely be exploited by the Allies, and this could be a good choice to keep off those submarines. So basically, this thing can only attack naval units. So when I give you its stats, just remember it can only attack ships, whether it be submarines or boats, and but nothing against aircraft. So basically, it attacks at a 6, which is pretty good. Defends at a 1, and So you can see it doesn't have great stats. It's pretty much it attacks like a fighter, costs the same as a fighter, but can only attack naval units, and it does have that long range though, and the main reason you would want to buy this is that it has a convoy rating multiplier of +2, so basically it's kind of like a submarine. It's pretty much on par with a submarine. So I can definitely see basing this thing out of Normandy or Bordeaux and launching attacks over the transatlantic gap early in the game. But overall, pretty nice unit. Next up, I guess we will go to the Milk Cow submarine. And again, it's a pretty nice large submarine. You can see especially in its width here compared to a destroyer. But so the Milk Cow was a transport submarine built by Germany to transport materials and supplies to submarines and ships in the operating off in the Atlantic. So this thing has no attack and defense. It costs 3 and it moves 3, so it's basically a same cost as an infantry. It can move pretty far like a sub, but again, it has no attack and defense. It does have a special feature to it, which is basically it acts like a submarine base. So the good thing about it is that it costs pretty cheap, and how I see this being used is you send, maybe, you can buy 2 of them. You send them out in the Atlantic, just kind of stationed around. And basically what you can use them for is that they're kind of just sitting out there in the Atlantic, and then you group your subs up on them. And then what you do is you can send your subs out, and since they act as a submarine base, you can boost your subs' movement by 1. So it definitely can help you kind of deploy subs really far across the Atlantic Ocean. A really nice unit in that respect. So I definitely like that. The next sub that you get is the anti-aircraft variant of the U-boat. And basically you can see on this thing, it's got an extra 3 anti-aircraft guns mounted on the back of it. And basically how these were used was as trap ships, kind of like how the British cam ships were used to attack German aircraft. This submarine was used to hunt British aircraft. So basically, how it would work is these things would be sailing, maybe slightly surfaced. So British aircraft would fly in and think that it was just a normal submarine, an easy kill sitting above the water. But then all 4 of these anti-aircraft guns would just light up the sky and take out whatever British aircraft task force was trying to hunt it down. And in the game, it's definitely presented that way. So this thing costs 6, so it's basically on par with, you could buy a sub or this thing. So then it moves 3 like a submarine, and then it attacks and defends at 2. So it's kind of, it's definitely a little less than a normal sub, just 1 less. So it's kind of like a coastal sub pretty much. But then it has a special ability that it gets, your standard 3 anti-aircraft shots at 3 or less. So you can basically use this to hunt down aircraft. Now, the one bad thing about the sub is that it is considered a coastal unit. and that definitely makes sense in terms of all of the ammunition and extra crew you would need to man these guns. You wouldn't be sending this across the world or anything. And yeah, so just basically just that short range kind of, it has to stay in coastal waters and stuff, so it could definitely prompt you to maybe take some islands like the Azores or something, because then you could base it off of there. But overall, it's a pretty nice unit, and I can definitely see you maybe stationing these in the English Channel to try to shoot down British planes blocking your submarine paths. And overall, I really like that unit. So next up are the surface ships Germany gets. First up, we have the Surface Raider, the KT-1. And you may recognize this. This is the German transport that you get you can buy this in a plastic mold from HBG. And now this is one little comment that I have about this set that I don't really like, is just the fact that the KT-1 can be, you can purchase this as a plastic mold, and considering that 3D printed units are more expensive than plastic, it's better just buying, the plastic version of this. And because it's put in this set, it means that it kind of drives up the cost and doesn't really give you a special unit in any regard. It does have really good detail and everything. You can see it does have guns and stuff mounted on it, but other than that, it's pretty much just that transport that you get in normal sets. But this is it has different rules to it, because it is a undercover convoy raider. And so basically this thing costs only $4, so it's a pretty cheap unit. It moves to large ships, and basically what it does is it attacks and defends at 2, I think, pretty sure. But yeah, basically what you do with this is you can send them off, and they have a special ability where, since they're posing as merchant ships, they can use neutral ports. So you can pretty much send this thing off, across the Atlantic, and maybe use South American ports to send this thing even farther out. But yeah, and it has it can't participate in any kind of surface naval actions, but what it can do is, so say a American destroyer comes for it, once the destroyer fires on this thing, it doesn't get any sort of defense roll, but what it gets to do is, if the destroyer misses, it gets to escape into a adjacent sea zone, or I think 2 zones away, which I think is pretty nice. And you can definitely get away from action if you need to with them. But yeah, overall, pretty nice unit. I like the rules and everything for it, but I kind of wish HBG had included a different mold for this, like in just some other kind of surface raider ship that Germany would have fielded during the war. But yeah, and then lastly, I guess we're gonna go with this right now, the submarine pen. And this is pretty simple. It's just a submarine base that can't be bombed, and if a submarine is in a zone adjacent to it, the submarine cannot be attacked. So yeah, it costs the same as a submarine base. It can be built any territory you own, and there's a special rule where if you take Norway, since it has special the fjords and everything to hide submarines, you get a free submarine pen in Norway. So a pretty nice unit. Lastly is my main kind of criticism about this set, is the inclusion of the Graf Spee. Now, I really like this ship, and it's really nice looking, it's got the name and everything, and as you can see, it's got incredible detailing on it. You can see the barrels of all the guns on it. You can see all the smaller guns and sponsons it has off the sides, and it's a really nice looking ship. But the thing I hate about this is that it's just a battle cruiser. You know, it's just your standard version 3 battle cruiser piece. And again, like the KT-1, you can buy this as plastic. So already, there's 2 units in this expansion set that, like, you don't even need. You can just buy them as plastic, and they are, yeah, they're just pretty much a plastic piece that are going to cost cheaper than these 3D models. And, yeah, and the fact that it doesn't have any... I mean, of course you could add special rules and everything, but just the fact that, yes, the Graf Spee was a convoy raider and it was sent out to raid convoys and everything, it really, I just don't think it was a great inclusion for this set. You know, it could have been, I mean, heck, they could have included another submarine, or maybe even, I mean, as much as I don't like having another plastic piece, another one of these, so you could have more. But just the fact that, you know, maybe if you're buying version 3, you don't have battle cruisers yet, and you might say this is a good set. Well, it only includes 1, so you can't even, you know, Germany doesn't need a bunch of them, but I mean, 1 isn't a great number to have. Like 2 at least would be a good number. And even then, the fact that it's just a standard surface unit, it's like having this set here, and they just include 3 standard destroyers for America, and, you know, like the fact that it's like they included like 3 out-of-box destroyers for this. You know, no special rules, no new mold and anything. But yeah, again, it's not a reason to not buy this, but it's definitely just kind of something that I don't like about this set. I wish that they had included something a little better, maybe some advanced Uboat or something, or yeah. But can't really complain about it. Now, I definitely think that these expansion sets are really nice, especially the Allied one. It is a pretty awesome expansion. Pretty much everything in this, I could see people buying it, especially, you know, Britain buying these for the really cheap cost that they are, and America purchasing all of these because of their income, even though they're a little bit more expensive. The Germans I don't like as much. They've got some good stuff going for them. Like, I really like the submarines that you get. The Condors are pretty nice. I mean, the fact that they're $10 and that's going towards a mainly convoy raiding aircraft, I'd probably rather buy a fighter in most senses, or spend $2 extra and get an actual bomber that can bomb too, as well as convoy raid. I definitely really like the rules on the KT-1, the surface convoy raider, but again, the fact that it's just a plastic piece that's remolded as a 3D printed piece kind of stinks. And then also the Graf Zeppelin, which is just, the Graf Spee, which is just a standard battle cruiser remolded. So basically, in this set, you're getting this as kind of your custom units, whereas like your new molds, whereas these are just kind of reprints, which kind of stinks. But I still think even for the $11, if you're gonna have this and not even say you weren't even counting these, like, I still think that's worth $11 right there. But overall, I really like these, and even my criticisms about this. This is a pretty nice unit, and hey, like, makes a good giveaway, so I may end up doing a giveaway for this in my 100 subscriber special that's probably going to come up soon. So yeah, but overall, I definitely suggest you guys check this set out and maybe purchase one or two, and I hope to see you guys again. Cobra out.